All right, let's talk about our 10-minute sketches. Each day you get a prompt, and maybe that prompt is storm. The whole point of the 10-minute sketches is for you to be creative. So if your prompt is storm, don't just draw a cloud with rain on it or the first tornado that you learned how to draw in kindergarten. Think about what a storm might be like. Maybe it's a mental storm. Maybe it's something that is flying away in this storm. Maybe it's your homework is a storm. Maybe it's your emotions. Try to think outside the box. Try to be unique. That's the whole point of these 10-minute sketches. You don't want just a regular storm on a farm like you see here, even though this student did a great job of adding some values in. We want to have a full-on unique sketch. So when I say full-on, that doesn't mean that it has to be detailed. That doesn't mean that when you're drawing a hand that it has to be perfect. Like, look at this sketch here. Is there even a hand there on that fisherman? I don't know. Look at this fish. It's awful. But the idea is there. You can see the emotion. You can see the concept. You can see the layout. The layout of this thing is incredibly important. That's called your composition, where things are placed in the artwork. You can see that there's some lights and some darks. These big, heavy darks inside that boat really kind of give it some weight inside that boat. There's some movement in that fisherman. You can see his emotion, throwing that line out there, trying to catch the fish. These trees are just kind of doodled in, lots of scribbling. That's okay. If you have time to go back and add in some more lines, a little bit more detail, maybe coloring around the clouds or adding some weight to the background, definitely go in there and do that. You can see here using a little bit of hatching. If you have time to add some hatching, give that some practice. Now, when you're creating an artwork, try not to look it up on the internet. However, this is a picture of my daughter asleep, and the prompt was sleep. So here she is. She has her little lovey right here in her hands. And so, yeah, I went on my phone and I looked up that picture, but I still didn't focus in on how to draw a perfect hand, or her face is even a little off, and it bothers me because I know, but no one else is going to know. If I wanted to turn this into a full-on artwork, then I'd go back and I would worry about those things. But for the sketch in my sketchbook, I'm not worrying about that. I'm just trying to create something quick, trying to lay out those ideas, because ideas are harder to come up with than drawing the details of hair later on. Trying to have a good composition, trying to have a unique thought in this world, that's more difficult. And I'm not gonna lie, a lot of your 10-minute sketches are gonna be failures, something that you're never going to use again, but some won't be. Some will be great ideas that you want to turn into full-on artworks, and that's what we're trying to accomplish. This student here is doing a great job of using their time, adding in some movement in those curtains, and sometimes they're adding in a full scene. Yeah, they have a stick figure here because that's all they had time for. But if you have time, go in and add more. Try to stay away from the stick figures, but if you're running out of time, you're running out of time. This student here, you could tell that they've thought about, let's make this from the bird's eye view. That person's looking up from the ceiling down at this person who's asleep, cuddling with their teddy bears and their stuffed animals, and they're adding in the hatching. They had plenty of time in that 10 minutes. Some of you will have time for that. Sometimes you won't. This same student didn't have time to add any values or shading or hatching into this artwork where she added all these flowers. But once again, the composition is fantastic, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking through these flowers at this girl. It's a full-on concept. If she wanted to turn this into an artwork, that would be a successful piece of work because she's thought it out. So you might need a couple more sketches after you get the original idea, but these are where the ideas start. Look at the emotion of that fan. Yeah, the fan's not drawn perfect, but it has a lot of emotion. They're scribbling in those blades that are spinning around. You have these little creepy eyes that are looking up at the scene. That's another thing to think about, is how you break up your 10-minute sketches. Try to make it look like a comic book, or lay them out in an interesting way. Maybe they're a whole bunch of pictures, or maybe it's just rectangles like this. This student here had the same thing, sleep, and now we've seen 3 different sleeps here. They're all completely different. Nobody's 10-minute sketch should be exactly like the next person's. Each one should be completely, uniquely yours. This is something that flows out of you and should be a representation of you. If you have time to go in and add shading and shadow, you should definitely do that. If you have time to add emotion and movement into it, definitely do that. If you have time to add color, then go and get colored pencils and add that in. If you're sitting there and there's still 5 minutes left on the clock, add a pop of color, or try to add in something quirky and unique, something weird. Try to add in a little bit more emotion. Try to add in, maybe try to add in some hatching or come in with pen. I love to use pen, and I love blacking out the backgrounds. That really makes it look like it has a pop to it. It makes it look a little bit more than just the pencil work like we see here. So if you have time to add a pen in, always come get a pen or a colored pencil like this person here and add that in. Let me show you a few more examples. Let me encourage you to try to create something unique. Let me encourage you to try to step out of your comfort zone. Try to do something more than just a whole bunch of stick figures. Try to push in actual backgrounds, right? Okay, as I start to leave you, and I'm going to wrap this up, I want to show you a few more that's really showing a lot of emotion. This could completely turn into a full artwork. They have a solid background. They know where their values are going to be here in the background. They have these two people looking away from the viewer at the TV screen, and they're sitting on these pillows. What a great piece of artwork. A lot of emotion, a lot of thought put into that sketch. You can see here we're putting in pops of color. We're filling in all of our 10-minute sketches. And at the end of this, you're gonna have a sketchbook that's full of ideas, full of thoughts, and some are going to be more finished, and then others will not. And that's okay. If you run out of time and it's like this and you're drawing people, then that's what happens. It's not always gonna be a complete finished piece. Don't stress about it. This is not supposed to stress you out. This is supposed to keep you kind of free and loose and being able to create freely without worrying about what the final piece is going to look like. Notice how everyone's is a little bit different. Everyone's is looking like who they are. If you don't have time to draw this person who's dying here and each and every hair, that's okay. If you have time to black it out like this though and really think about the values of the thing, do that. You can see here in the truck, it has this road and just some scribbles for the grass. Just those scribbles are going to really bring this artwork to life. Look at the negative space that is inside of this. The prompt was death of a monster, and this is what they came up with. I promise you that looks completely different than anyone else's. This one was draw what's in front of you, and they had a little belt sander there. All the angles aren't right, but they did a great job of adding some emotion. Let's look at a few more from this student. Sometimes you're going to combine two 10-minute sketches because you're like, oh, that could work with this one. That's awesome too. All right, I hope you're encouraged by this. I hope that you're encouraged to start your own 10-minute sketches, to make them however you want to make them. Try to do your best. Try to add in everything you can with every second that you have. If you're just sitting there, go add some pen work. Go add some color, whatever you can think of. All right, good luck on your 10-minute sketches, and I hope that you're doing your best.